Welcome to Weird Web Radio, an explorer's guide to hidden worlds of the paranormal and occult, reality-expanding experiences, and the downright weird and bizarre. With your host, Lonnie Scott.
Welcome to Weird Web Radio. I'm your host, Lonnie Scott. Tonight we're joined by two very special guests out in New Jersey, a mother and daughter dynamic duo of paranormal investigation, Cyndi Myst and her daughter Adriana Pasterchick. Cyndi has been part of the paranormal community for quite a while, and she's recently become a lot more active. Cyndi was formerly a member of Bergen Paranormal, and she later developed an all-female team along with a few others. Her team had published video evidence on YouTube, and they had been guests at several conventions, on radio shows, interviews for local newspapers, and even gave a lecture at a historical society. That team has since disbanded, and recently Cyndi is being scouted by a larger, more established group, and from the sound of the interview, she's very excited to get involved with that, and we'll be making an announcement soon. Adriana is new to the paranormal community, and she was lucky enough to participate in a few of those investigations with her mother and that all-female team before they broke up. It seems that Adriana has these abilities to attract spirits and get them to follow her around, and you'll hear more of that in the show. It seems that along with that, she's the spark plug of the investigations. Adriana looks forward to being part of that team along with her mother. They're both very excited and looking forward to that possibility. Some of the confusion that you'll hear in the show about a hotel is when they mention the Shanley Hotel and wondering about investigations that are going on in it. And I brought up the Stanley Hotel, knowing that recently the Stanley has quit conducting investigations. And you'll hear a little bit of that back and forth as you go listening. Again, that is just a little bit of confusion on my part, not hearing them correctly whenever they said Shanley versus Stanley. Otherwise, thank you for being here and enjoy the show. Well, after a lot of internet technological challenges and walls to climb and third-party help, we're finally here. I want to welcome both of you to the show. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, in all of our contact we've had with each other, you've both indicated that you're part of a ghost hunting team, or you've been part of a ghost hunting team or paranormal investigation. And I'm curious, when was it in your life that you felt that pull into the paranormal?
Dre, you go first. Okay.
You go first.
She's pushing it to me. When? I can't pinpoint a time. But, when you're a kid and there's always something that just fascinates you. And for me, it was always abandoned buildings. The creepier and the mustier smelling, the better. And then about 8 years ago, I would say, I got involved with a paranormal team here that no longer exists. And that's it. As soon as I started getting involved with stuff with them, it sparked me 100%. As far as here, ask Adriana.
Oh my God. Okay, my experience was different because I actually, I thought I was sleeping and I saw my grandmother at my father's house. I think I was about 9 years old. My mom told me when I was little that I used to talk to myself, in quotes, because I actually had friends that I played with, apparently. I don't remember it, but I'll add that in there.
Oh, no, that's okay.
That's about it, yeah.
Yeah. Abandoned buildings are usually something that it piques the interest of a lot of people that get into the paranormal. It seems like there's something about them that says there's more in here than meets the eye, and you just kind of have to go look and find out.
You could smell it. You could feel it. I don't know how else to say it. I mean, some buildings you walk in and it's just kind of like
goosebumps.
Yeah, goosebumps. Yeah, that static electricity feeling. Others, you're more worried about a homeless person coming out, you know?
Sure.
But some of them you definitely feel some kind of weird energy.
Yeah. Are there some places that you found that really resonate with you in certain ways?
Yeah, I mean, we've been in a few places where we found some pretty cool stuff. As far as the Shanley Hotel, and I'm not even sure, I heard recently that there's something going on there that I'm not even sure if it's still in operation, but we were lucky enough to go last year and get to investigate overnight. It's there's a lot of stuff going on there, but I think when they have so many people, they have like these ghost tours, sort of, where you get to stay overnight, but they fill the hotel up. And I think when you have that many people in there, they tend to not be as active. That's just how it seemed to me. I mean, we had a few experiences. They weren't overwhelming, but you just knew there was always something. I always felt like there was something there.
I had a pretty good experience.
And Adriana got to speak to the little boy that inhabits the place. I guess something about he got run over in front of the building. And she and another member of our team actually had some private time with him, and a toy we have that lights up when it's touched. I don't know. You want to tell them about it? Or?
You pretty much everything there was. We were upstairs for a good half an hour because no one was upstairs, and we figured it'd be a good opportunity to actually try to get something, considering it felt like everything was running away because there was just too many people. And in like the 30 minutes time that we were upstairs, like my mom said, we have the toy dog that, you know, when they touch it, like the sound goes off and it flickers. And every time we asked a question, it would just go off like crazy. And I have the audio from it. We couldn't get enough of a video without using flash, and I wasn't going to do that.
Like hi?
Yeah, he said hi through the voice box and said mommy through the voice box. So it was, I mean, it gave me chills. I had goosebumps the entire time, and I started crying, so it was a little bit weird. But
Oh, that's pretty cool. You know, when you say you had a chance to communicate, how was it that you were communicating? What were you using?
Well, we have a thing called a spirit box. Some people call it a ghost box,
voice box.
or a voice box, and it literally it's radio channels, and what it does is it siphons through them really fast, as if it's tuning, but it just keeps going through all the channels super fast, and it gives a spirit a chance to talk over these radio waves. And you could tell when it's not just radio backup, because you could hear like and that's just it. It's like cycling through the radio channels. When you get full words over like 5 different channels being cycled, you know you're hearing a voice. And they're loud. And this thing is great because every time we use it, we get something. And this little kid just happened to like come over it a couple times while she was up there talking to him. But that's the only voice actually we got from there. Everything else was visual, pretty much. Now
that's a box they call a Frank's box as well, right?
I haven't heard that.
I think it's the same thing. Yeah, it sounds like the exact description of it. Now, do you make that yourself, or did you buy that somewhere?
No, you can get them. They're made. They're made in different strengths. There are different ones that work better for others. I mean, we have an SB7 and an SB11. And either one of them is fine. I like the 7 better because it's not as fancy, if that makes any sense.
The giant clunky one?
Yeah, the giant clunky thing that just, it overheats and, yeah.
It's just really loud static.
And you're going through radio static, pretty much.
Yeah. Now, you said that when you go out with that, you get something every time.
Every time.
So.
Lots of audio.
Do you have a theory on why that might be?
Well, no, okay, let me re-say that better. Every time we've been in a place where there is some sort of activity, we will get a voice. There have been times when we've been in places that we're told are active and they're not, and then you get nothing. So when there's activity, yes, because they're looking for a way to communicate with you, and this thing happens to be the best way.
That's interesting. Yeah. So when you go out and do your investigations, I'm guessing that's part of your toolbox that never gets left behind. What else do you usually use in your investigations?
Oh, can we talk about my favorite little word exchange thing?
What? Then there's the Ovulus. I'm not a fan of the Ovulus. She loves the Ovulus.
Oh, tell me more.
That's the one that it's got like a vocabulary of words, and the spirit is supposed to be able to manipulate the energy and form a word on this thing, and it's mechanical sounding. And that's exactly what it does. It just comes out and it's, it's like, house, rabbit. And and there are some words, for whatever reason, the energy has the same word over and over again. I mean, the one we were using wasn't ours. It was one of our other teammates, and it loved to say Pluto. And foliage. Every time, foliage. Now, I don't know, like why a ghost would want to tell me about foliage. So I'm just thinking it's just certain energy just spurred out certain words. And that's why I find it really unreliable. But sometimes it's so on point that you can't dispute it. Or the one time we got something on there that it doesn't say.
Okay, no,
so
literally every time that I've used the Ovulus, something has been really scary, relatable to what we were talking about.
Here,
so.
Tell him the cool story about Walter. Was it Walter?
Walter?
What is it?
Oh my God! Where were we? Where was that? That was outside of Lambert Castle. I was walking around, and I must have looked like a complete idiot because I was walking around recording just talking to this box that just talks back to me, and I remember asking a bunch of questions just because, brief history about the place. They had like 1 million kids and they all died. But I asked a question about who I was talking to or whatever. It said Walter. So found out Walter was the person who pretty much looked over the property, if I believe. And when I went back to actually prove that it said Walter, it replaced the word completely in the Ovulus. So I actually had to show them the video playback for them to actually believe me because they thought I was crazy.
Okay. So when you go out now, I sound like a stuttering fool here. There's a lot of information coming in all at once.
That's what I think I sound like.
The Ovulus. Now, is that like a recorder? Or is it something similar to the spirit box? Because I've got some experience in this field myself. I don't think I've ever seen or heard of the Ovulus.
The Ovulus is basically it's a little dingy box that has like 3 light patterns, and they just kind of blink. And whenever a word comes through, like depending on the intensity or the accuracy of the word, it'll light up a different color, and it just robotically says the word it thinks came through. That's all. It doesn't there's a history of the words that come through it saved into it as you're using it, but it doesn't record anything.
Okay.
So whenever we use it, we make sure to have the video camera on it and focus on the screen to make sure that's what's coming through.
Okay. And you both say we. Are you referring to your old team?
Well, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, mostly me and my mom too.
Okay. Yeah. Do you two go out by yourselves and do investigations?
Not as of right now. The weather kind of has been messing that up for us.
Sure.
So.
In general.
Well, yeah, no, not as of right now, but we are planning to do something soon. Okay,
good. Well, let's back up a little bit. We kind of got ahead of ourselves in getting into the discussion of the toys. How did you guys start investigating?
Oh. All right, yeah, this one's me, right?
It's for either one of you and both of you.
Well,
yeah.
When we started with the team that we were on, it was literally somebody just I knew for years that said to me, "Hey, I went on a ghost hunt when I was on vacation, and it was fun. We should do this." And it blew up. Literally, I had called another friend and got another friend involved. I got another friend involved, and she was into it just because she likes to be spooked. And from there, we just started going places, talking to a lot of people. We had a radio interview. We got involved in, invited to be guests at a convention. We got invited to do, not a seminar, but kind of like a lecture. And it was a lot of fun. I mean, but, once it started rolling off, it was insane. I mean, a lot of fun.
What happened to the team?
Some things are better left unsaid. Yes. And it's just one of those things where people find it easier to go away than to apologize. And that's all I'll say.
Sure. Yeah, I think we've all been there in some situation or another.
Yeah.
Now, have you both?
Right.
Have you both been part of this?
I'm of that team. Yes, she came on late, just before it disbanded. She came on.
Okay.
Later on in the end, she was like our little anchor. You're breaking my headphone. Because she, for some reason, they were attracted to her. All the spooky things like to follow the kid around.
All the spooky things like to follow the kid around. So tell me more about that. How do you know that they follow the kid around?
We were getting a lot of crazy hits when she would come with us. Like the story she just told you about Walter and the one Lambert, the one son that was the last heir on the property. We weren't getting anything there. All of a sudden she started hearing from him when she walked away from us. And it's not the only time. I mean, she was the only one to get the little boy to talk at the Shanley Hotel. Just an asset, kind of like bait. In the basement, we went to a club that we all hang out in, just for the hell of it. It's because it's been there for so long. Went in the basement and nothing, like dead air the whole time, and she wound up getting something. But that's so we like to throw the kid out there for bait.
Yeah, the idea of bait isn't entirely a bad idea. There's one theory that what happens in a haunted or paranormal location is that it's not just about the location itself. It's the interaction between the individual's consciousness that's entering the place and whatever happens to be inhabiting the space. And sometimes that connection makes things spark, just as it seems to with the kid, and sometimes not so much.
Yeah, it definitely has to do with your own energy.
For Adriana, do you feel like you're attracting spirits to you all the time?
Spirits do.
I definitely think that I do draw them to me just because, like you said, everyone has different energy when you bring them. But I'm always the one that, immediately when I walk in, I'm like, yes, we're going to talk to things today. So, I'm immediately jumping all over the place, and I'm like, let's talk, let's do things. And sometimes other people's energy, they're kind of just, a little bit more laid back, oh, I hope we get something today. This kind of sucks. So...
Right.
I'm usually the one to jump right into it and flip out for no reason. So that might be why they come more.
Do you find anything odd or feel that sense that there's more nearby, even when you're at home or going about your normal life?
I've always said, my first interaction ever, even believing in this stuff, was I saw my grandmother. And I know it sounds crazy, but... So I always have this kind of overwhelming feeling sometimes when I start thinking about it, which is obviously you get emotional, but there sometimes you just know when something's near you. Like you said, with the goosebumps and the air change and the temperature drops a little. So definitely since I started doing this and actually putting myself out there and showing that I'm actually into this and I want to be in it, I definitely feel it's more around me, but I haven't really used anything since, so.
Okay. Do you guys have any favorite places that you've investigated? I know you mentioned the Stanley Hotel, and you did say something. You thought something was going on
Stanley,
there.
The Stanley.
Yeah. I believe they've ended investigations at Stanley. Yeah.
At the Shanley? Did they end investigations at the Shanley Hotel?
I think so.
And where are our favorite places?
Well, I don't know if they, you know what, that's what I was thinking when I was saying there's something going on over there, because I was hearing things from people about how
They weren't able to get in touch with anybody anymore. I know last time we were there, they said something about how funding was getting tough and that somebody was trying to buy everything up and knock it all down. Because the part of town we were in, it's all really old, and it all used to belong to the Shanley, like the old carriage house and everything. I don't know if they're not doing investigations there anymore. It would be a shame if they're not. It's a really cool place to go. I guess, have you ever been on the website?
The website for who? The hotel?
The Shanley Hotel. Uh-huh.
No, I don't think I've been on their website.
Oh, all right. That would be, I want to get into that and actually check it out, and I haven't been able to. I just only heard last week that there was something going on, so I can get back to you on that one. As far as favorite places to go, there's places I haven't been yet that I need to go. I've always loved Eastern State Penn, but never really got anything out of there, but they're there. You just know. Oh God, there's so many places I need to get into. Which one? Yeah, and my daughter likes the Little Red Schoolhouse in Lyndhurst. Really nice people. Great that they let us in there. I mean, we did get a little bit of stuff. But God, you're making me pick a favorite place. I'm gonna say just the Shanley, probably.
Yeah, you don't have to pick a favorite place. I'm just, I'm a little curious, because there's so many different places that we can all go investigate. And in all honesty, there's been enough people who have lived and died on the planet over the existence of mankind that every so many square feet should be haunted. You could walk out into your...
Pretty much is. I mean...
Go ahead.
If you could walk around in infrared all day long, you'd probably see them everywhere.
Now, you guys have got spirit boxes and infrared and video. Your team is the envy of many.
Well, unfortunately, at the moment, it's not a team. It's a duo, but, I just got scouted by a team that I'm supposed to go and have this big meeting with this month. And if all, fares well, I will belong to this team very soon, and then eventually, hopefully I can get Adriana over there. I won't know for sure what's going to happen with that until I actually go to this meeting. But from what I understand, the guy that started it's like, you already got my vote. I just need 2 more or something. So hopefully I'll be back in action, and when that happens, I hope I'll have some cool stuff to show you.
Well, that would be really cool. I hope you make the team. I wish you luck. Hope it takes you to all those places you still have yet to see. Now,
so many. The problem is a lot of these places people want to go, you can't go in.
Or you have to pay like $1,000.
Or there's some crazy heavy fee. A lot of them are privately owned now, and they take advantage of the fact that, people have ghost stories, and they bilk you a little. Then there's other groups like JPI who will host something at like the mill, and you pay for it, but the proceeds go to keeping the place preserved, which is different. Places like that, if people are just really into like ghost tours and learning how to ghost hunt, seek out JPI. That's a great place to start.
What is JPI?
Jersey Paranormal Investigations.
Okay. We'll make sure to include that information in the show notes so people can find them.
Yeah, they're a great group of people.
Okay. Now, when you're looking for a place to investigate, what is it that you look for? What qualifies a place for your time?
No, it depends. If it's a private home, once upon a time, people would just contact us and say, hey, I think I have this going on, or I have that going on. In that case, they seek you out. When it's something like, I want to get into, in our area, there's an old insane asylum up here. And that asylum is, I don't know if it's owned by the state or just, the caretakers are like Essex County police, but it's very heavily guarded. You can't get anywhere near it. And that is one hell of a place that I'd love to get in, because I remember the stories from when I was a kid about, hearing screams as you're walking through there, because they have all the old torture devices, for like lobotomies and the shock chairs and all that stuff. And that's one place that's on my bucket list. I got to get in there, but it's almost impossible to get anybody, to get in contact with anybody to even inquire about it.
I'm not.
But that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a place that not a lot of people have been in.
Right. That's not a bad idea. And if you're attracted to abandoned buildings, it shouldn't be hard to find one.
Oh, they're everywhere.
Yeah.
You just got to be careful. Like, never go alone, because, in all reality, it's your safety, whether you're going to fall through a floor, or, you never know who's in there. Honestly, you just don't know. You don't know who's in there.
Who were some of your influences in the paranormal investigating world?
Don't laugh at me.
I wouldn't dare.
I'm a huge fan of Ghost Adventures. And that show, honestly, I used to get so excited and just be like, I want to be in there with them. I want to be in there doing that. And I want to have that I want to have that piece of equipment. Yeah. I love some of the stuff that guy, they have that Bill Chappell guy that they have inventing all these little things. I love the stuff they use. We have some stuff like that. Obviously just not as sophisticated.
Sure. So it's the devices that they come up with that gets you most excited.
Well, yeah, and the places they go, but
I like how real they are, and they just capture like everything that goes on, even when they basically almost pee their pants.
Yeah.
So
right, and even if they find nothing, they come right out and say, "We found nothing."
They don't make up some story like all the other shows that you see on TV where it's like, "Oh my God,
they're fake."
That gust of air, someone just breathed down my neck. It's like the window's open. You know? Like,
yeah, there is a serious overabundance of people in the paranormal world who, for some reason, they can go out and find evidence time after time after time after time. I've not been that lucky or blessed.
Right.
Most of the time it's not anything that they found. They're just trying to keep it exciting, because everyone who does do this, you know how it is. You go out, you don't find something, you wasted your day, whatever, it's disappointing, but you're not going to lie to yourself to make it up.
Right. And the only time any of us have ever seen anything visual was when we used the Kinect. And that's it. We've never... The thing was great. I've never seen a shadow person. You think you see things out of the corner of your eye all the time, but, in all honesty, if you're looking for it, your mind plays tricks on you and you think you see a lot of things. We had done an experiment in the Shanley, actually, doing the candles where you put the red thing over the candle and you stare at a mirror and the other person standing next to you, and real quick you look at their face and they're supposed to look like a skeleton. It works.
Well, or like something.
Right. Like their face changes. And it works because it's an optical illusion, because you're so busy staring at your own face and the flickering light that when you look over at the other person, it's like your face is overlaid on theirs, so they look distorted. So if you're looking for something, you would think, oh my God, your face just changed. It's the same sort of thing. You're looking for something, you're going to see things out of the corner of your eye all the time, and you really saw nothing.
Yeah, it's kind of the confirmation bias at work. You're right. You go in with a place and you've suggested to yourself that you will see something. You'll go out of your way to see it.
Right.
Now, you mentioned
exactly.
You mentioned wasting your day away, and it brings to mind a common misconception, I think, in the paranormal world, that everybody only does it at night. I'm curious, do you do hunt investigations during the day and night? Do you prefer one over the other?
Well, you can. We have.
When I got that stuff at Lambert Castle, it was like 4:00. So
right.
We don't go when it's dark out. Most of the time, it is a little darker when we do it, just because by the time we get around after setting all the equipment up, it's like 6:00. But there's been times that we've started at like 2, and we've gotten stuff. So it's
The best time to investigate, and everybody will tell you the same thing, is between the hours of 2 and 3 a.m. Because that's when...
That's the witching hour.
Right. That's when all the activity starts up. That's why all these people you see on TV and these other people that do these overnight things do it overnight, because if you're going to get action, you're going to get it in the middle of the night. The Shanley, all the stuff that happened at the Shanley with her, with the little boy, and then we had somebody come. There's a whole big story with the room we were in. There's a door that connects to another room. That door has padlocks on it because guests say that in the middle of the night, somebody they can't see opens the door up. And then they come and they pull on your feet, try to pull you out of bed. So to keep that door from opening up on its own while you're sleeping, they have it padlocked. But we set up our Connect, and somebody came through the door and was standing there.
At the exact time that everyone had written down in the journal, because they keep journals in the room of everyone's experiences.
Our friend showed up.
Exact on that minute, you showed up in the doorway.
Yep. And we have it on film, on the Connect, and it reached out and was touching another team member in the hand. So 3 o'clock, best time, by far.
That must have been quite an experience.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like I said, I get overexcited about everything, so I was flipping out.
it was pretty freaky. And then you're afraid if you get too excited, you're going to chase it away,
So I'm like shaking on the bed trying to hide my excitement, and they're reaching out. I'm like, oh, stop.
Yeah, it was touching somebody else in the room.
Now, how could you tell that there was something reaching out and touching someone in the room?
There's a program you can buy, and you use it with, what's it, PlayStation?
It's an Xbox 360. You know, the Kinect camera?
The camera for the Xbox 360.
It connects to your body so it can tell that you're moving.
Okay. If you set that up with this program that somebody developed, it will map out anomalies in a room. So if a spirit walks through the door, it looks like a stick figure. So once this one came through the door, one of the team members was standing right next to the door and said, I feel something weird on my arm. And it was standing right there. And she put her hand up, and it touched her hand.
The little stick was like on her arm.
And we could see it on the Kinect camera on the laptop, what it was doing. And she was telling us what it was doing as we're watching it. Like you could feel it. And that's that piece of equipment, that the Kinect camera and that program, that's probably my very favorite thing to use.
Oh, that's pretty cool. You could see visually through that device that something was touching you. Could you sense it or touch it physically?
Yes.
What did it feel like? What did you experience?
I didn't feel it. My team member did. But, I've felt things before, had things touch me before. It's cold. It's... people say it feels like a static electricity or weird thing of energy. It's bizarre. It literally feels like there's a point where you're touched and it's slowly going up your arm and like freezing it, but not like
it's
like pins and needles almost. And it travels up and down wherever they're touching. But she was touched and knew it and said, something's got my hand. I can feel it. And we were looking at it on screen that this thing was reaching out and touching her hand. So she was, being truthful about feeling it.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. You don't hear or see evidence like that very often.
Yeah. No, that's why it's such a valuable piece of equipment. It really is.
Now, if you could describe or give it a thought, what your principles of investigation would be, how would you define them?
Principles? As far as the reason we do it?
Well, I would like to hear the reason you do it. And that's part of that being the principles of the investigation, but also, your values and ethics approaching the investigation itself.
As with anything, like especially if it's a private home, you have to respect people's property. You have to respect their wishes. Some people, especially when we were doing a lot of filming, didn't want to be on camera, didn't want people to know whose home it was because they thought that they would be ridiculed for it. Not everybody is as accepting. So you have to respect people's privacy. If they tell you that there's certain things, certain places that you don't want to go, you don't go there. The Shanley hotel, no, it wasn't the Shanley. I'm trying to remember the other place we were, where there was an elderly gentleman that once lived there, that was inhabiting the place still. And if you touch the things in his room, he would push you down the stairs. Yeah, it was the tavern. Gabriel Davies Tavern. I can't say it. And the man who lived there at one time and died buried on the property gets very upset if you touch his things. So out of respect, they ask you, please don't touch anything in that room, because he will get upset. And the last thing we want to do. So that's the other thing. If you know that there's a spirit in the home or in the building that is upset by a certain thing, out of respect, you just go out of your way not to do it. Just respect the homeowner's property. Make sure that you're helping him out in the best way you can, without, even if it's something ridiculous. You never say to them, well, that's impossible or that's silly. Respect what they're saying, and you just have to mind yourself sometimes. I mean, it's like with anything else. Somebody's inviting you into their home, and you just have to treat it, as you would being a guest anywhere. As far as outcome and why we do it, because there's something there. It's interesting. The fascination for everyone, is high. And plus, I kind of want to know. I kind of want to know if this is it for us, or if, we're going to be someplace else. If we get to hang around a little bit. What do you think?
So, it's my turn now. I just got handed the microphone.
Welcome back to the show,
Adriana. Thanks. It's no longer the Cyndie show. I really, really like the idea of just someone else being able to be there and like being curious as to, because I really do believe that there is an alternative life, and the other side of the barrier, and that there are people just walking around with us every day, and we both kind of had this sense that they're there and we want to interact. And honestly, how cool would it be? How cool would it be to just have a conversation with everyone on a daily basis, because they're there, regardless of if they're stuck saying the same thing every day, all these, because none of us really know, but you see in the movies that they have to live the same day over and over again that they died or something else. So like, how cool would it be to actually figure that out if they're actually living a daily life,
Well, sure. Do you think the tools that we use now in investigation could provide an answer like that?
If someone is constant and is as inspired as we are to keep up with something like that without overstepping our boundaries, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, one interesting theory that I've heard, I don't personally subscribe to the idea, but I would love to hear what you think about it. When we're communicating with the presence or the energy that's in a location, sometimes we go in as investigators and we assume that we are communicating with the dead. It's been suggested that perhaps somehow we're interacting with the consciousness of someone through time. As outlandish as that may seem on the surface, it does sometimes feel like through EVP evidence that the thing we're communicating with is almost as confused by our presence as we are by theirs. Have you ever encountered something that would make you think that this may not be someone who's dead? There might be something more to this than meets the eye.
On the investigations that I've been, I mean, like I said, like we both said before, that I'm kind of, spirits like to just hang with me. I guess it's because I'm such a fun person, but everything that has happened, like especially the little red schoolhouse, you knew it was someone who was, who passed away, because we mentioned the teacher and what happened and like and they like instantly responded to that. So I've never had a situation where I felt like I contacted someone that is still aware of what's going on, that's still not necessarily dead. So, I mean, I don't think I can actually relate to that, but...
Okay.
Trying to remember the name of the guy the Shanley, Mr. Schmoop or something like that. I whatever his name was.
Was it the guy that sat in the chair?
The guy that sat in the chair.
I'm really mad if he sat in his chair.
Yes,
He's dead.
He's been dead, but I think he thinks he still lives in that house and he's alive.
Because he gets really angry if you sit in his chair.
Yeah, you can't sit in his chair, you can't touch his things. This is the guy that throws you down the stairs.
But he needs someone that's still living.
Oh, I'm sorry. Maybe I lost that. I'm sorry. I guess I misunderstood that question. Like somebody's willing it, like a poltergeist, you mean? Like creating it themselves?
Well, there's plenty of that out there as well. Poltergeists are a whole other animal, and a lot of the poltergeist evidence seems to be around teenagers. But no, what I was talking about was I've been in a lot of these discussions, and I like to read a lot of different theories when it comes to our EVP evidence and maybe what you get through a spirit box. There are ideas out there that suggest that maybe we're not communicating with the dead. Maybe we're communicating somehow with the consciousness of someone across time who may be occupying that space in another time, as confused by you walking around making noise.
Different dimensions.
Yeah, something of that nature. And it's fun to entertain those ideas just to expand out the way we think about it, because ultimately we can't ever really be certain what it is that we're talking to.
No, it's true. Unless, I mean, there's times when they'll say a specific person's name. Now you know who you think you know who you're talking to by the evidence you're given at that time. Whether somebody's impersonating the deceased, hey, that's a pretty smart trickster to be doing that across dimensions, But that I've heard that theory a billion times, and I think it's really a very cool theory. Wouldn't surprise me if that's the whole thing with deja vu. How you think you've been there before, where you probably were in another dimension. You know what I mean? And just revisited it here. I think it's a huge possibility, but I think when the evidence is so good and just pinpoints an individual so perfectly, that's kind of hard to argue,
Sure. And you've done investigations in private homes, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. And Adriana mentioned that her first experience goes back to having a visitation by her grandmother. Many of the ideas we have today in paranormal investigation are actually tied to spiritualism and the old seances and such. Now, we're a lot better at it, I think, today than they were. I think it's fascinating, and I would like to see a lot of investigators at least entertain the idea that when you go, especially into a private home, such as her experience with her grandmother, many times that presence in the house could actually be an ancestor. And it's not anything frightening or scary in any way, shape, or form. It's just something that's trying to communicate a message, maybe even just to let you know they're there. Have you encountered other places, other homes or families that are having an experience similar to what she had just seeing her grandmother?
Well, yeah. They just knew somebody was there because they'd hear them going up and down the stairs, and nobody's going up and down the stairs. Lights were going on and off. And honestly, we spent 2 hours there and got nothing until we started scanning the room with the Kinect instead of just aiming at the stairs and concentrating on the stairs. And sure enough, the Kinect picked up a human-type figure on the ceiling in the corner, holding on to the ceiling, hiding from us. It didn't want us to catch it on infrared. It didn't want us to catch it on the Kinect. It was literally on the ceiling. You can't make this up, and it's filmed. There is video of it. And then when it saw that we saw it, it like twitched, like freaked out, jumped down and disappeared. So, our analysis to these people was, you're right, somebody is here. It's very likely somebody who lived in the house before you bought it. They do not wish to be seen. And honestly, they're not going to bother you. Just make sure, you go through the house and say, hey, I know you're here. Thank you for letting me live in your home. We want to share this with you. Just make it known that they're there and you're more than okay with it. As far as ancestors, I've never had anybody say, hey, I think it might be my grandmother, or it was just always, there's someone here and I don't know who it is. Can you tell me who it is? That's it. But yes, there's always some strange thing going on in someone's home.
Yeah.
I feel like if it is an ancestor, because when I saw my grandma, like, I smelled the perfume faintly, like the environment felt very homely. It wasn't just like, oh my God, goosebumps.
Right.
It must be my grandma.
And they wouldn't want to hide from us.
Yeah.
They'd want to be touching. This whoever this was just was kind of like, look, man,
leave me alone.
Just let me live here in peace, and I won't bother you. So we just told the family that they're safe. They were more worried because they knew something was around, that they were going to get touched in the middle of the night or something.
Okay. Now, what would you say are some of your biggest mistakes in investigating? Nobody likes that question.
Lots of those. No, shush. You didn't. Did you hear? You didn't hear her, right?
No.
Good. There is something that they call in the paranormal community paradrama. There is always. It's a shame because, we're all trying to do the same thing, and it's all about, it's all about learning, but it's also all about having a good time. But some people take it to a level of pompousness and, self-entitlement. They crap talk each group. Jesus Christ. I want to work with everybody. It's all about strengthening the community in itself so that we can achieve more together.
People think we're crazy.
Everybody thinks you're crazy to begin with. Why not have a whole bunch of us just be one big crazy family? But when you try to outdo each other, and there's jealousy involved, it ruins things. I think the biggest mistake made is to start to get that jealousy going, instead of just staying together as a team, between that and, maybe going into a big thing unprepared. I think that's happened a couple times to a lot of us where, maybe, oh, I forgot this home. It'll be fine. Instead of turning around and going and getting it, because then you find once you're there, wow, I really could have used this.
Also, a huge thing is going in with a negative mindset. I think that's the biggest mistake you could make ever.
Because then nothing will happen.
Then nothing wants to come near you because you're being, negative, and they're like, well, fine, I don't want to be near you anyway. So,
yeah, that was a big problem on our team. We had a lot of, I don't feel anything. There's nothing here.
Which is why when I started coming around.
This is a bummer, and it's just like, it's everywhere you go, you're not going to, if you go on 5 investigations a week, 1 or 2 of them is going to have something. And it's a reality. Going in with the mindset that this is a waste of my time, you shouldn't be investigating. That's a huge mistake.
No, that's a good way to put it. Now are there specific routines or rituals that you conduct before you investigate?
Yeah. I'm big on amulets and stuff, or anything that has some kind of a protection to it. I made everybody mojo bags. Conveniently, everybody lost theirs but me.
I don't have one.
You don't have one. I gotta make her one too. I'm a big fan of, sweetgrass braid or a sage smudging. Anything just to make sure that you clean yourself off, just in case. We've been lucky. We haven't ever encountered anything bad. Not even really that mischievous. But you never know. So ritualistically, I keep that mojo bag with me. One team member made everybody bracelets with stones of protection on them. We all wore those.
Never had one.
And always, you come home and you sage the hell out of yourself. Always.
I'm like, I don't take any precautions and I'm fine.
No, you'll see.
I know.
Well, she says she's fine, but she's the one that says they're always around, too.
I wonder why.
I'm actually the next
There you go.
Happen, so.
I'll call you when her head spins around.
Wait, get that on video. We'll take this podcast to a whole new level.
Okay, deal.
Now, what would you say are some of the biggest myths of paranormal investigation?
Oh boy. Myths.
Stick to the big ones.
How do you start this one off? The big ones. Well, there's no boogeyman. There's nothing under your bed that's going to grab your ankles at night. That's bullshit. Spirits who are going to harm you are just going to come out and do it. They're not going to warn you. You're not going to get the 666 drawings on the wall. Like, people are like, oh, there was this pentagram. Like, okay, I saw. So, oh, I said a bad word. I'm sorry.
It's all right.
You're on delay, right?
That's okay. This is rated explicit iTunes.
Okay, cool. Oh God, really? That's ridiculous. What else? That people who are involved in the paranormal community are all flakes. That there's no such thing as anybody that there's no such thing as a medium. That people aren't sensitives. That they're just flakes looking for attention. As far as the paranormal community goes, it's a very tight knit community. My favorite is but people on the outside are always looking at you like you're full of crap. The biggest myth is that. We're full of crap. Guess what? We're not. And when something happens in your house and you call one of us, we're going to be like, oh, sorry, I'm busy that day. What happened?
No, there's like a lot of, because even in, I don't know if you can hear me, but even in movies, it's like kind of implied that the dead aren't conscious, I guess.
Yeah.
Like they can't actually interact with you. So they just kind of rage out, which is like my mom said, like, oh, look, there's a pentagram. Like, that's how it's drawn out. But
they rage out.
They literally talk to you if you show enthusiasm enough to speak to them. They're not mentally dead as well as physically. It's
there's two different. See, you have intelligent and residual. Residuals are the ones that go through the same routine every day. People say, I keep seeing this figure walk through a wall. And if you did enough research to find out maybe what the house looked like or what was here at that time, maybe that was a doorway. Maybe there was nothing there and she was walking a path or a road, before. But they're walking the same path they do. They're not walking through a wall. They're just walking whatever was there, through the doorway. That's just a residual. There's nothing, they usually don't interact at all. The intelligent ones are the ones that you get the responses from. As far as conscious, I don't know if I'd call it consciousness. But they're aware, and they do communicate. They try to communicate. It's just very hard to hear them. If you listen and you take the time to understand, you'll hear them.
Okay. And what would you consider controversial in paranormal investigation?
When you cross that line, when you know that there's something there dangerous, and you go down there unprotected and you cross that line and you, what's a good word for what I want to say? You not entice it, but you annoy it, you aggravate it, and you antagonize it so it comes out and it gets destructive. I mean, now you're looking not only to hurt yourself, but anybody else that's around you or whoever lives in the home. So controversial would be to get involved in enticing something that you do not want to wake up. Don't poke the bear, basically.
That's an excellent answer. I would agree. Do not poke the bear. Now, a controversial subject I like to ask is, I have a couple friends who run a website called weekandweird.com, and they share a lot of weird paranormal news that are going on around the world. And something they uncovered maybe a few months ago at this point, is there is a special effects company going around rigging locations to produce apparitions, sounds, even maybe EVP evidence. They guarantee that they can fool any ghost hunters or paranormal investigators out there, and they do so without revealing that that's what they've done. Now, what would you have to say to that company?
It depends. I mean,
without cursing,
right? First of all, that's a real asshole move. I mean, it really is. It's an asshole move because it is, because you know what? Now you're ruining stuff. And I don't mean you're ruining, like, it's not like a magic trick where somebody's showing you this fake trick and exposing it. They're literally ruining the experience, the spirituality of it. They're ruining it.
They're poking the bear, too.
They're poking the bear. Yeah. As far as they could fool anyone, I wouldn't say that. I mean, there's a reason the equipment works. Unless they know how to manipulate the equipment you use,
you can tell that it's fake.
Yeah, you would know that it's fake. I mean, prime example, we have REM pods, and that's the thing that, like, it gets set off and it screams when something comes near it. We had an experience where we had a REM pod.
I got so happy too.
We had a REM pod going off in a closet. In the same where we heard, because the closet door kept opening and it was in a room that was really haunted. So we thought for sure there's something in there. So we put the REM pod in there and walked away, and all of a sudden it freaked out. And all I kept thinking is, and I was like, yes, it's there. We got very excited. To prove if it was legit or not, you go through everything. It turns out our own radios, our communication radios, were setting it off. So there's a way to manipulate equipment, but we'll know it. So I don't know how, I mean, I'm sure there's one or two things they could probably pull off, like maybe a shadow or something, but I don't see how they can manipulate the equipment to fool anybody.
Well, you heard it here, guys. Challenge accepted. Get your asses out to New Jersey and see who wins this match.
Challenge accepted.
Now,
that's it.
Someone out there listening to this podcast wants to be a paranormal investigator. They are excited about it. They may have had an experience in their own home or somewhere out in the world, and rather than being scared, they got excited. But they don't know what to do. What advice would you tell that person who wants to go learn how to do this on their own?
Oh, it's difficult. Finding a reputable group near where you live is not an easy thing to do. It's not like you can go in the yellow pages and just like eeny, meeny, miny, mo. There's no real listing for them. My suggestion would be get on Facebook. Find paranormal groups on Facebook. Message boards, things like that, and start talking to people. And eventually, you'll start seeing some of these events that I was telling you about where, JPI does the mill and stuff to raise money and to keep, to preserve it, and also for an overnight ghost hunt. It's always best to go in on one of these group kind of format things, because you don't have to go in there knowing anything. It's almost like they walk you through it all. And that's how you learn. Or if you can find a reputable group in your area and, ask if there's something you could do to help out so you can learn. A lot of people are really open to that. It's just some of these groups try to keep things smaller, because once they get too big, it's like with anything else, too many cooks. But definitely message boards, get on Facebook and Twitter and look for paranormal groups and people you can talk to on there. And that's the best way to get started.
Well, good advice. That is pretty much the show. And I can't thank both of you enough for tolerating all the technical challenges we faced to make it happen.
Oh my God.
I got a nice nap out of it.
It took a couple hours, but it's all right.
Right. Now, for anybody out there that wants to find you, whether they want...
Thanks to Mr. Mack.
Yes, exactly. For anybody out there that wants to find you, who just wants to say hi, wants to get involved in paranormal investigating, wants to hit you up for tips, tricks, or anything that you could help them with, is there anywhere that you would like to send them to find you?
They can find me on Twitter under Paracyn, PARA_CYN. Or you could look and watch for me to be part of, what's the name of my new team? PRT Plus. And look for me on that website, because that is where I should be slowly joining. I have a lot of gigs with them actually in April coming up once I'm official. And that's really it. As far as the Queen, I mean, I'm sure you could find her on Facebook.
Or Instagram, or Twitter. I have everything.
She's everything.
My Facebook is my name, so it's Adriana Pasterchick. My Instagram, I mean, everything's pretty much on my Facebook. If anyone wants to contact me, it'd be the easiest.
Okay. Well, any parting thoughts?
This was fun.
Yeah. We're like out of it. Just keep an open mind, you know?
Never lose excitement.
Yeah, keep an open mind. Tread cautious, you know? Never try to dive into something you're not really sure you can handle. And always ask a lot of questions.
Adriana and Cyndie, thank you again for being here. It's been wonderful talking to both of you, and you have been excellent guests on the show. For all of you out there, you can find Weird Web Radio on Facebook and Twitter. Twitter is at Weird Web Radio. You can find us at weirdwebradio.com and weirdwebradio.libsyn.com. Make sure to find us on iTunes, rate, comment, and just leave your thoughts. It helps people find us in the search engines. Once again, I want to thank you all for being here. Help spread the message far and wide. Keep the world magical. Stay weird, my friends.